All right, let's just jump right into it. The NFL offseason, it's just pure, uncut chaos, isn't it? It's like this massive game of musical chairs where entire franchises can change their fortunes in the blink of an eye. And you know what? Nowhere is that beautiful madness more obvious than in two of the wildest stories we've seen so far. A quarterback signing that has the whole league second-guessing what value even means, and a blockbuster trade that just completely blew up.
$1.3 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. In today's NFL, what does that really buy you? A solid backup? A special teams ace, maybe? Well, how about a former #1 overall pick, a Heisman Trophy winner, and your brand new potential starting quarterback? It sounds absolutely insane, right? But for KYLER Murray, that's the price of a homecoming he probably never, ever thought was possible.
And you really have to hear this part of the story. KYLER Murray, this kid from Texas, was apparently a massive, die-hard Minnesota Vikings fan growing up. He talks about his whole house just being covered in purple. And in this quote, he says he literally cried real tears when Brett Favre threw that pick against the Saints in the NFC Championship. So for him, putting on that uniform, man, that's not just another contract, it's a childhood dream coming full circle. It's the kind of emotional story you just don't see in this business very often.
But okay, let's step away from the heartwarming story for a second. Because on a business level, this signing is one of the most shocking and, frankly, brilliant moves we've seen in a long, long time. So let's actually break down the nuts and bolts of what might just be the steal of the decade.
Okay, so this is where the financial gymnastics get really wild. Just look at these numbers. The Vikings get a player with KYLER Murray's pedigree for just $1.3 million. That's the veteran minimum. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals are paying him almost $37 million to not play for them, to play for the Vikings. And here is the real kicker. The contract says Minnesota can't use the franchise tag on him next year. So this is a one-year prove-it deal. All upside and absolutely zero long-term risk for the Vikings. It is a masterclass in salary cap maneuvering.
And listen, don't just take my word for it. This isn't just a bunch of talking heads getting excited. Mike Tannenbaum, a former NFL GM, is calling this one of the most important moves of the last 5 years. Think about it. We're in a league where average quarterbacks are getting $50 million a year. So to get a talent like KYLER Murray for less than what you'd pay a career backup, it's incredible value. It gives Minnesota so much freedom to build out the rest of the roster.
Of course, a move this big doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? It sends shockwaves right through that locker room. And it immediately sparks a fire in the quarterback room, pitting their new, super cheap veteran against the rookie they just spent a top pick on. This is going to be a fascinating battle to watch.
So this is the million-dollar question, right? Who's going to be QB1? The debate is already raging. On one side, you've got people screaming that KYLER is the dude. You don't bring in that kind of talent just for competition. This is a move to win games right now. But the other side of the argument makes a ton of sense too. They're saying, look, he's on a tiny deal, he barely played last year, and we just used a top 10 pick on J.J. McCarthy. We have to see what the kid has.
And the Vikings coaching staff? Well, they're playing this perfectly. They're staying totally neutral. Head coach Kevin O'Connell's message is pretty simple. We've got time. There's no game this weekend. This is going to be a real, honest-to-goodness competition, and it'll be settled on the practice field during training camp.
So while the fans and the analysts are all debating this back and forth, the folks who actually put their money where their mouth is, the betting markets in Las Vegas, they're telling a completely different and way more skeptical story about this whole thing.
If you turn on your TV, the consensus seems to be that adding KYLER Murray instantly makes the Vikings a legit contender in the NFC North. They're suddenly right there in the conversation with teams like the Lions and the Packers. But is that what the numbers are actually telling us? And boom, here's the reality check. Vegas is not buying the hype. Not at all. I mean, look at these odds. The Lions and the Packers are the clear favorites. The Bears are a pretty distant third. And the Vikings? They are, by a mile, the biggest long shot in the entire division. It's wild. The so-called experts and the odds makers are looking at the exact same team and seeing two totally different realities.
So why is Vegas so down on the Vikings?
Well, for starters, their projected win total is 8.5 games. That's actually less than the 9 games they won last year, with a carousel of backups. And here's the really telling part. The bookmakers are saying KYLER Murray is only worth about 2.5 points to the betting line over the rookie, McCarthy. Basically, Vegas sees him as a slight upgrade, but not the game-changing, franchise-altering force everyone else is making him out to be. But hey, the drama in Minnesota, that's just one part of this offseason puzzle. Now we're going to pivot from a deal that actually happened to one that shockingly fell apart. The whole saga with Maxx Crosby, man, it just goes to show you how absolutely brutal this business can be. It really pulls back the curtain on the power dynamics between a star player and his team.
Okay, just try to follow this roller coaster. First, Crosby wants out of Vegas. Then, the Raiders work out this huge blockbuster trade. They're sending Crosby to the Ravens for 2 first-round picks. I mean, that's a massive return. The deal is basically done, and then, poof, it collapses. The Ravens see his medical report, they get worried about his knee, and they pull out. And just like that, Maxx Crosby is right back where he started, with a team that already had his bags packed for him. Just take a second and think about the human side of this. Put yourself in his shoes. Like one analyst said, your team, the team you bleed for, basically told you, we don't want you anymore. These 2 future draft picks are more valuable to us than you are. How in the world do you come back from that? The trust, the feeling of loyalty, has just been completely shattered for the whole league to see. So this leaves both Maxx Crosby and the Las Vegas Raiders in what everyone is calling a truly unprecedented situation. They have to share a building, a locker room, after going through this very public, very ugly breakup that fell apart at the altar. I mean, where do you even go from here? For the Raiders, this is a strategic nightmare. That amazing haul of 2 first-round picks? Gone. Vanished into thin air. Now, every other team in the league knows they're in a tough spot, so the phone is ringing with these lowball offers, 60 cents on the dollar. And all the while, Crosby's huge $30 million salary is just sitting there on their books, taking up 10% of their entire team budget. It's this massive cloud of uncertainty that makes it almost impossible to plan for the future. So is there any way out of this mess? Well, Mike Tannenbaum actually came up with a really smart potential solution. You trade Crosby for 2 second-round picks, but you build in this really clever condition. Look at step 4. If Crosby stays healthy and plays most of the snaps for his new team, that second pick automatically becomes a first-rounder. It's genius. It protects the new team from the injury risk, but it still gives the Raiders a way to get back that top-tier value they thought they had. It's a creative way to fix a broken deal. And that really gets to the heart of both of these stories, doesn't it? The Kyler Murray deal shows you the cold, calculated, brilliant chess match of the NFL's money game. But the Maxx Crosby saga, that shows you the deep, personal, human cost when that game goes horribly wrong. And it kind of leaves us with this big question that goes way beyond football. When a deal like this falls apart, what's actually harder to repair? A player's body or a player's trust?